A young Jewish woman hides a secret inside the most powerful palace on earth. A king rules an empire stretching across 3 continents. And somewhere in the shadows, a single man plots a genocide that could erase an entire people. But what he doesn't know is that the fate of millions now rests in the hands of a queen who was never supposed to wear the crown. This is the extraordinary story of Esther and her cousin Mordecai, a story of courage, hidden identity, and a moment when silence could have meant the end of a nation. The year is around 480 BC. The world is dominated by the vast and glittering empire of Achaemenid Persian Empire, ruled by the powerful King Xerxes I, known in the Bible as Ahasuerus. From India to Ethiopia, more than 127 provinces answer to his command. His palace in Susa is a place of unimaginable luxury: marble columns, golden goblets, silk curtains dancing in the warm Persian air. But behind the splendor lies a kingdom of fragile pride and dangerous politics. One royal decision, one insult, or one whisper in the wrong ear can change everything. And in this empire lives a scattered people, the Jews. They are foreigners in a powerful land, tolerated but vulnerable. Among them lives a young woman named Esther. Orphaned at a young age, she is raised by her older cousin Mordecai, a man known for his quiet wisdom and unwavering loyalty. To the outside world, Esther appears ordinary, but Mordecai sees something more: strength, intelligence, and a calm courage that most people overlook. "Remember who you are," Mordecai often tells her. But soon, Esther will be forced to hide exactly that. Because inside the palace of King Xerxes, something unexpected happens. The queen, Vashti, refuses a command from the king during a lavish royal banquet. In a world where kings expect absolute obedience, her defiance becomes a scandal. The result? She is removed from the throne. And suddenly, the empire begins searching for a new queen. Young women from across the land are gathered into the royal palace. Among them, Esther. But Mordecai gives her a crucial warning. Do not reveal that you are Jewish. Esther enters the palace carrying a secret that could one day cost her everything. But no one, not the king, not the court, not even Esther herself, understands the role she is about to play in history. At first, life inside the palace is slow and uncertain. Months pass as the women undergo elaborate preparations: perfumes, oils, cosmetics, and training in royal etiquette. Each waits for her moment to stand before the king. And then, Esther's turn comes. She walks into the royal chamber not with arrogance but quiet grace. And something unexpected happens. The king is captivated. Out of all the women in the empire, he chooses her. Esther becomes queen, but her identity remains hidden. Meanwhile, outside the palace, Mordecai sits near the king's gate, the place where officials, guards, and advisors pass each day. One day, he overhears a dangerous conversation. 2 royal guards are planning to assassinate the king. Mordecai immediately reports the plot through Esther, who informs the king. The conspirators are executed. The king's life is saved. The event is recorded in the royal chronicles. But strangely, Mordecai receives no reward. And that forgotten detail will soon change everything, because another man is rising in power, a man named Haman. And this is where the story takes a darker turn. Haman becomes the most powerful official in the empire, second only to the king himself. The king commands that everyone bow before him, and most people do. But Mordecai refuses. Day after day, he stands at the gate, refusing to bow, not out of arrogance, but conviction. Haman notices, and his pride turns instantly into rage. But his anger does not stop with Mordecai. Instead, he decides something far more terrifying. If Mordecai will not bow, then Mordecai's entire people must be destroyed. Haman convinces the king to issue a royal decree. On a specific day, every Jew across the empire will be killed. Men, women, children, their enemies may even take their possessions. The order spreads across the empire like wildfire. Panic fills the Jewish communities, but inside the palace, Esther still doesn't know, until Mordecai sends her a message. And what he asks her to do next could cost her life. Mordecai's message is simple and terrifying. You must go to the king. But there is a problem. No one may approach the king without being summoned. Doing so could mean immediate execution. Even the queen, Esther, hesitates. She hasn't been called to see the king for 30 days. Entering uninvited could end everything. But Mordecai sends one final message. and it becomes one of the most powerful lines in the entire Bible. Who knows if you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? Those words change everything. Esther makes her decision. She tells Mordecai to gather the Jewish people and fast for 3 days. "I will go to the king," she says, "and if I perish, I perish." 3 days later, Esther walks into the throne room. The entire court watches. Silence fills the palace. If the king lowers his scepter, she dies. Seconds pass. Then the king lifts the golden scepter toward her. Esther lives. But instead of revealing everything immediately, she invites the king and Haman to a private banquet. Then another. Haman leaves the palace that night filled with pride, convinced he is honored above everyone else. But when he sees Mordecai still refusing to bow, his rage returns. He orders a massive gallows to be built, nearly 75 feet tall. By morning, he plans to hang Mordecai. But that same night, the king cannot sleep. And that small detail will change history. To pass the time, the king orders the royal chronicles to be read aloud. And suddenly, a forgotten entry appears, the record of Mordecai saving the king's life. The king asks a simple question. What reward was given to this man? The answer shocks him. Nothing. At that very moment, Haman enters the court, intending to request Mordecai's execution. But before he can speak, the king asks him, what should be done for the man the king delights to honor? Haman assumes the king means him. So he describes a grand celebration. Royal robes, the king's horse, a parade through the city. The king smiles. Excellent, he says. Do exactly that for Mordecai. Haman is forced to lead the parade himself. The man he hates most is now publicly honored, and the story isn't over yet. At Esther's second banquet, she finally reveals the truth. I and my people have been sold to destruction. The king is stunned. Who would dare do such a thing? Esther points across the room. The adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman. The king's fury explodes. Haman is arrested. And in a twist that shocks the entire court, he is executed on the very gallows he built for Mordecai. The decree against the Jews cannot be undone. Persian law is absolute. But a new decree allows them to defend themselves. When the day arrives, their enemies are defeated, and the Jewish people are saved. Mordecai rises to become one of the most powerful leaders in the empire, and the courage of Esther becomes legendary. A quiet orphan girl who became a queen and saved her people from extinction. But perhaps the most powerful question remains the one Mordecai asked long ago. What if Esther had stayed silent? History often turns on moments like that. Moments when someone chooses courage instead of safety. Moments when one voice changes everything. If this story moved you, I'd love to hear from you. What part of Esther's courage stood out to you the most? And what lesson do you think this story teaches us today? Write your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this cinematic Bible story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more powerful stories from Scripture that shaped history.